Good Day podcast community. We have a special guest with us. Man, I heard her speak at my a Rotary up in Richmond. And I said, man, I've got to get Molly on the podcast. And so I want Molly to tell you who she is, what she does, and who she serves. And then we'll get into our podcast.
Good morning. Thank you, Pete. I'm excited to be here. And my name is Molly Harris. I am in Richmond, Virginia. I have a company, MWH Solutions, and the project that is at the forefront of that is Lulus Local Food. It's an online e-commerce program, custom designed for farmers markets, and food hubs. We launched back in 2008 and have relaunched several times throughout the years. During COVID, we served farmers markets across the country as they shut down due to the pandemic, and were allowed their customers to place orders online from all their vendors and pick up. You saw lots of lines where people drove up and opened their back doors or trunks, popped open and loaded in with fresh vegetables and things from the market vendors. And since then, we have been awarded the LFPA grant, Local Food Purchasing Assistance Program, that was put out by USDA in 2022. Through the Department of Agriculture in Virginia, we were a subrecipient, received in the first round $1.3 million in food cost to purchase food from local farmers. Local to USDA is 400 miles. Local to us is 40. But we purchased food and got it to people in need throughout Central Virginia. That's been our work for the last 2 years.
I tell you, when I heard you speak, I was like, wow. Because, when you were sharing with us, my first question is like, how on earth did you come to be involved in something so big? Like, what was the reason you said, I'm going to change the world?
Well, so the platform is just built for this. It's built to take online transactions. And I had always supported access programs, all of my markets and food hubs. I encourage them to support their communities in the same way, and they have over the years. We definitely saw an increase in that support during COVID. And as I said, the platform is built for it. It's built to be able to post credits to customer accounts and allow them to shop. So all we had to do was have the money come down from USDA and distributed it out to farmers markets and food hubs already using the system. And they were able to credit the food pantries that they had been working with to go online and shop for their customers. And we branched out to schools where we had nutrition directors purchasing for families and within the schools to take home food over the weekends.
Now, you said a word there that I want to go back to. All we had to do. This is not all we had to do, because plenty of people get money and they blow it. So for you to dive into this, did you grow up with kind of a desire for healthy living, healthy foods, helping serve people? What drove you to, one, get into this?
I did. I was very privileged to grow up with my family, with a hobby garden, eating fresh food all summer long, and what we froze and canned and kept throughout the year, enjoyed. It was definitely a part of my childhood, and I made it a part of my children's childhood. And then just really wanted to share it with the public, and found that having conversations with people about what they eat can be a very delicate conversation and can be misread very easily. So putting the food in front of them and letting them just taste for themselves the difference, I realized was a better tactic. So opened a farm-to-table restaurant in 2004, And it was while running the restaurant that I realized that actually being able to get that food from the farms connected to the people who were enjoying it directly for their own pantries was what kind of excited me, and how I got into the starting the program online and letting them buy the food directly from the farmers throughout the winter season when the farmers markets were closed was how we got started.
Wow.
Um,
I spent a little over 12 years in the distribution side of the restaurant business for like Cisco US Foods. And I always was amazed at how difficult it was to run a restaurant. I mean, it tests every single bone in your body to make it successful, because what you did yesterday has nothing to do with what you're going to do today, and it's constant change, it's constant adapting. Would you say when you got out of the restaurant business, tell me what your thoughts, because I always tell people and they say, hey, I'm thinking about opening a restaurant. I said, you better think long and hard, because you have no idea what you're getting into until you do it. So what drove you, I mean, out of the restaurant into this? What was it? Anything in particular you could share with our audience?
well, I'd say the biggest factor was 3 children that were entering middle school, and realizing that those years of giving them freedom and letting them explore the world was great. But as we got into upper school and looking at putting together college applications and things of that nature, I needed to be at home. But also, I was ready to give up the bricks and mortar. I was ready to give up the payroll and ready to give up the mortgage. So doing away with all three and still having a vibrant business where I was still connecting farmers with people and getting their products out into the community, kind of that was the drive
Yeah.
behind it.
Yeah, that's so good, because we always serve in the restaurant business, so we're good at serving, our clients, our customers, and so it looks like you made the switch from serving in a brick and mortar to serving on a higher level. So, do you think that, just for our audience and understanding, because our parents create like our foundation for a lot of the things we do you see that your kids still practice those healthy choices as they got older, and obviously older than they were when you started this?
Yeah, they gave me a real hard time when they were kids. Why can't we just have normal jam and jellies and normal products in our pantry that have normal labels like everybody else's? But yes, all three of them love to cook, are big sourcers of ingredients, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. In fact, very often we have a group chat where they're sharing their plates
Oh,
of look what we did, and it's a lot of fun to see them.
that's so good, because I do see that, in because I'm a little older and my kids 38, 34, so then grandkids and all that, these habits that they develop early just continue. So that's beautiful. What would you say, like, for our viewers out there, you make this transition, you've obviously hit obstacles, challenges, adversity. What would you say to the people that are in business and they're struggling and they're just not understanding the lessons that we normally learn? How did you handle the challenging nature of a completely different focus with your business?
Um, I think we always kind of just doubled down on our mission. It was always tempting to try to go big. And when competition would come into town, people would, other business would come in and try to replicate what we were doing. And we kind of doubled down on really trying to find the smaller farmers, the ones that were starting out, and just getting started, the ones that had been working with us forever, and really kind of doubling down on what their needs were and how to best help them get out into the marketplace and expand their market, whether it was seasonally, that let's put up a greenhouse and let you grow longer seasons, Let's take your berries and have them made into more prepared products. But rather than trying to go big, to kind of double down and how to really just meet our mission, which was to see our vendors and the producers we were working with succeed. I always looked at it when they did move on. A baker would come to me and say, "I just got an account with Whole Foods. I'm so excited," or, or they'd move on, and I always celebrated that with them and wished them the best, knowing that they would be replaced with another farm that was either they were aging out and couldn't do farmers markets anymore, or they were young and excited about getting a lease on a piece of land and getting started, whatever it was to
Hmm.
really.
That's so good. Yeah. What would you say, like, when you first got the grant, so you get the money,
Hmm.
now you have to apply it. Was there a celebration for a day? And then you said, now what am I going to do to make this work? Could you share with our viewers kind of that day and just what your mindset was when that happy moment came? Because it's validation when somebody does support you in that kind of way. What was it like? Could you share with our
Well,
viewers?
we had put together all the spreadsheets that were going to be needed to record the transactions. We had all of our farmers markets and food hubs geared up, ready to go. They were already using the system for their own retail sales. So it really was just adding in a food pantry as a customer and taking an order from them. We were awarded on December 22nd. Coldest day of the year. A major ice freeze came through Richmond and all of central Virginia. And it was right before Christmas. So the farmers were out in the fields getting up every last product that they could harvest and salvage and bringing it into the warehouse. And they needed to move it quickly. And they were looking at the Christmas holidays right in front of them. So literally we were awarded on the 22nd. I let everybody know. They set up orders with their food pantries on the 23rd, and they
Mhm.
delivered on the 26th.
Wow.
And
Dang.
it was amazing. I mean, we probably did, close to $10,000 in sales over those 5 days.
Wow.
And yeah, it
That
was
is
neat.
so
It was
good, because I have a buddy, I won't mention his name, but he was working with schools and he got a grant. And it was like, okay, I got this money now, like they're gonna all flock to me. And it didn't happen like that. It was like nobody wanted the money because they didn't have the time to really. I mean, I don't say they wanted the money. It was the time it took to kind of process it. So we get a lot of money. We think, oh, we've arrived. It was really just a start for him. I mean, it
right.
was not like, yes, you can celebrate for one day, but it's kind of like when you win a championship, you celebrate for one day, but then you got to start looking to the next
Yeah.
challenge.
Yeah.
How do you handle challenges in your life? Like you've obviously had many with building a business, raising kids. So what makes you like lean into, I always say honor the struggle. How do you handle that our viewers can kind of learn from? Like what do you do? Like do you embrace things? You just say, next challenge, here I go. How do you handle it as a founder and creator in what you've done in your life so far?
Well, I think that an advantage I have is really believing in the work that I'm doing and
Hmm.
not just being passionate about it, not just uh, it just being good work, but I really believe that the products that we are putting out there. I mean, it's like when we were selling on retail and just getting started. I knew that they'd sell themselves. There's nothing better than a Virginia, North Carolina, Georgia peach in June. It sells itself. You don't have to get behind it. to now be sharing those products with people who have never had them before, have never had access to them before. It's good. The work is good work, and I guess I just have faith that when things come up, that stay focused and again kind of double down on the mission rather than trying to ever expand it. Stay with the goals you've already set for yourself and not try to do everything. And sometimes that's difficult too, but that's
Yeah.
kind of.
What would you say to our audience? Like in your journey, you always, I mean, I don't know if you see it this way, but we always, we're born to create, we're born to challenge ourselves. What do you see like the next challenge for you? And how are you preparing yourself for the next challenge? Because the future is the future. AI is changing the world very rapidly, and it's going to turn itself on its side. So business owners are going to be faced with things they've never seen before. What do you see as your next challenge that you're kind of leaning into as the business grows?
Well, with the grant money being terminated, we are trying to figure out how to restructure and reorganize to continue to get funding for the work we've been doing, but also to make it more sustainable. How do we have the farmers gleaning more products from the field that maybe before they weren't selling, but now have a market for? How do we really reach out into the communities? That's where speaking at the Rotary clubs and saying, hey, you might not be aware of this, but we're supporting farmers in your rural town, or we are feeding people in your town that don't have access, or at least have never had access to fresh fruits and vegetables. And how do we draw in the community to support the work that we're doing? I'd say that, and then how to weave together those efforts into more of a regional effort that can be duplicated in other areas and regions across the country. So this grant's been awarded across the country in every state. And
Yeah.
we're just trying to capture the work that we've been doing and figure out how to best showcase it in a way that makes sense and can be easily duplicated anywhere.
That's awesome. I had a guest on there. We were talking about competition versus collaboration. And they really had a cool mindset about the collaboration part of growing a business. Do you see collaboration in anything you're doing? Like, obviously, you collaborate with the farmers, but are there people that our viewers might not think about that you are collaborating with that could help them understand just the growing of your business? Because you've obviously grown it.
Right. So I'd say our work with Virginia Commonwealth University right now is where we're seeing a tremendous amount of potential.
Mhm.
They have the VCU Rams Pantry is the pantry for students on their academic campus. That has been a huge success, and we have put a tremendous amount of money, about $65,000 worth of fresh vegetables a year, have gone into that pantry. And taking that to the university, making them aware of it, and realizing that not only have they been looking at the success of the pantry overall and how it's met the needs of the students, but they're also looking at how it could be meeting the needs of the hospitals and their healthcare workers, as well as the patients, as well as the students. And it really opens up a whole nother realm when you think about the workers needing access to better food. So how do we take the university as a community and then pull from it out of their foundations and their donors and their and the company's Aramark that provides the food service in their cafeterias? How do we go to them and pull everyone together to look at this in a larger, as a food system? And then what kind of wins can we have there on that campus that then we can take to other colleges and universities and replicate.
Wow, that's good. So our listeners out there that have those connections to the university and the colleges, share this video with them, because I see what you're saying is you're planting seeds, because when you're in college and university, you're forming habits. And if you form the quick process habit of grabbing foods quickly, you continue those on. So learning how to feed ourselves is real important. What would you say to our viewers when you look at the future? What are you most excited about when you wake up? I love that you're on a mission, because I do think there's a difference between mission and passion. And I when people say I'm passionate about it, I accept it guardedly, because you can be passionate about something, but as soon as it gets really hard, you wither. But when you're on a mission, it's like you're going to go through the brick wall. So what are you excited about that you could share with our viewers? In the balance of this year and beyond.
I think the breakthrough that we've made in the school districts, that I have worked with several school districts in the surrounding areas of Richmond for years. We just broke in with the City of Richmond School District 2 years ago, and we started with just doing food market giveaways on Fridays during the school year. But realized during the school year is not the peak of the growing season here in Virginia. And so last summer, we put together a little series there in July and went into right before school started of getting the fresh vegetables out for the kids, and having an opportunity for them to be able to get access to the fresh vegetables during the summer. And this year we started it in the spring. Right as school has let out here in early June. And so to see the kids coming away with a quart of strawberries to take home to eat at home for the week, and the smiles on their faces, to be discovering, blueberries and blackberries and peaches as they are in season.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the product that they get otherwise, or especially out of a can of sliced peaches. So it's redefining food for them and nutrition, and in seeing them enjoying it and taking home sweet potatoes and collards and greens, and finding that their grandmother has their old family recipe to make them into something that is a cultural definition for them as well.
Yeah,
it's empowering.
It is. I can see that. It's my father-in-law, who's passed away, but he always had a garden. And so fresh vegetables, canning, all that was just part of, just who they were. They just always had fresh stuff. So when it came to eating things from a can, it was like, oh, no, I don't want that. They know the taste of that freshness. How do you, because we know how important relationships are to a business owner, how do you maintain those relationships in a fast-paced world that's moving quicker and quicker?
Well, with this project, I set it out as a mandate for anyone who was going to partner with me to work on it from the very beginning, for the farmers markets and the food hubs that signed up to be a participant, and that we were having quarterly meetings that were mandatory. And we get online every quarter and share what's happening, share what's frustrating, share what is working.
Mm-hmm.
And have really kind of navigated through this whole process. But I've always done that. When I first started the program back in 2008, with the initial food hub and the initial producers, we had a producer meeting in the winter season there in January, and we continued that on. And as we grew across and were expanding across the nation, we would invite anyone to come online and be online with us, but devote a day. And it always included a potluck meal or eventually we sourced food from the local vendors themselves to have a locally sourced meal that everybody could enjoy and connect with. One of the biggest connection points when I was running the actual food hub myself for 10 years there in the beginning was delivery day, when all the farmers would come into town and bring their orders in
Mhm.
and for distribution, and they loved it. It was a party, and they called it the party in the parking lot, from 10 to 11 on Thursday mornings. And sometimes I would, take a thermos of coffee if it was really cold or really, morning, or people would bring in latest things they had just made and have a tasting, take them around, everybody. And so it was really us. I think that, that kind of connection is important, especially when you're a farmer and you're out working in the fields long hours and you feeling isolated and like nobody is doing what I'm doing. And I think that's been the real eye-opening piece for a lot of them, is to realize that, when they do collaborate with others that are doing the same work that they're doing, that it's a real opportunity to grow and learn from one another.
Man, I love that. I want our viewers to take that home because it's so important that together we're better. And you're right. I can see the farmer out there doing his thing, doing her thing, whatever, and feeling isolated until they make the connections to others who are on the same path. They can't appreciate the relationship part because you do need it. I had a gentleman that I was working with, one of his team members, and I asked her, I said, how often does such and such talk to you? And she said, maybe twice a year. I went, what? Like, what? Twice a year? You can't have meaningful conversations with a team member twice a year and expect that connection to happen. Oh, I get emails from them. I said, yeah, that's great. But emotion is connection. It's like talking to people, feeling it. So I love that you shared that, because I just think that meaningful connections, meaningful purpose it comes intentionally, and it doesn't fall out of the sky. It is you initiating that connection with people that I can see that's one very important thing that was a success for you, because you did it. So I'm down here in Atlanta. We talked very briefly up there about wanting to take Molly and bring her to Atlanta. So who can we help you with in our community? Who would you think would be somebody that Molly can talk with, form cooperation, collaboration, relationship with, that we can help you with down here in the Atlanta area, Georgia area?
Um, well, the LFPA platform program was implemented in every state. So, and comes through a state agency. Very often, the Department of Agriculture, could have been the Department of Health or Social Services or Education. But it would be very interesting for me to learn, who that was awarded to, who's already been working on LFPA in Georgia and in the Atlanta area. I'm sure that there are food hubs or farmers that have been involved in this program, and to connect with them. And then I think the conversation would take itself from there.
Ooh, that's good. Yeah, because I've been to so many farmers markets that, I mean, it's always been a way to really see what's going on in a community and to get the products you don't find in a mass distribution. So you look for the people behind them. And I always would go and there would be like 25, 30 vendors, and to be able to really get those into more people. Okay, I want our community to just hear that and share this with people you might know that can help Molly out, because not everybody has that mission in mind that that gets them through the tough times. COVID took a lot of people out. I mean, it took a lot of sources that were doing certain things, and it was a crazy time in our America, the world. And now we're getting back to where things are, I don't know if you say normal, but they're different. So I want our viewers to be able to really help you to get more of Molly's concepts and Molly's successful things down into Georgia. So what would you, how, I'm going to let you just tell people how can they connect with Molly?
Send me an email. Love to hear from you. And, then we can go from there. And I'd love the opportunity to come down to Atlanta. So we'll have to follow up on that one as well.
And for the people that are listening to it in the car, they're not visually seeing it. Tell them what website they need to go to connect with you, Molly.
Well, luluslocalfood.com, and the email is luluslocalfood@gmail.com.
Awesome.
And that's LULUS.
That's beautiful. So as we wind down, what would be the one thing you would want our viewers to take home from our time that we had on this podcast?
That if you have the opportunity to support a local farmer by purchasing food from them and learning more about their practices and why they do what they do, it'll bring you better appreciation for the food. And I hope you enjoy it. I hope it's awesome.
Ooh, I love it. I love it, Molly. That was so good. I want you to speak to my Rotary. We have a little bigger Rotary than the Richmond one that we went
I'm
to.
sure you do.
And these are people that love to serve and love the fact that, they can do things to help our farmers, help our small farmers, because you don't go from a small business to a big business overnight. It's a growing thing. And we love to see businesses grow. So thank you, Molly, for taking the time to be with us on this podcast.